Hey, how are you doing? Continuing on with our handy dandy book, Esoteric Psychology by Alice A. Bailey. Um, my name is Sabri, and I hope you're doing well. Let's get started. I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to follow along again on the Lucius Trust Publishing website. And I can bring it up like that. We are on the purpose of the soul. Each of the purposes based on the 7 ray types. And we're on the 4th ray of, which is the first ray of the rays of attribute. So the first 3 rays are the primary rays, and then the rays of attribute, the 7 of remaining 4 that break off from that. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Ray 4, harmony, beauty, and art. Color, and yet no color, now is seen. Sound and the soundless one meet in an infinite point of peace. Time and the timeless one negate the thoughts of men, but time is not. Form is there found, and yet the psychic sense reveals that which the form is powerless to hide. The inner synthesis. The outer form is powerless to hide our inner synthesis, that inside we are one. The all-embracing prism, that point of unity which, when it is duly reached, reveals a further point where all the 3 are one and not the 2 alone. Matter and life force, spirit, and matter manifest as the form, the Father, the Mother, and the Son. And so it's not just that we are one or the other, and it's not just that we are the 2, the masculine and feminine. We are all 3. The 3 are one and not the 2 alone. We're not just physical, we're not just spiritual. Form and its soul are merged. The inner vision watches over the fusion. The inner vision, the third eye, or the ability to perceive oneself, our cognizant awareness of who we are, that we can observe ourselves. The inner vision watches over the fusion, knows the divine relation, and sees the 2 as one. But from that point of higher attainment, a higher vision blazes forth before the opened inner eye. The 3 are one and not alone the 2. Pass on, O pilgrim, on the way. And in the book, it's actually written, it starts off with that as basically a little kind of excerpt from the ancient text. I don't know if you can see how it's like indented. So that's why it's written in that way. The rest of the chapter, section isn't written in the way that this first section is. All right, continuing on with our descriptions, we're going to go into the titles that can be seen as the ray, just like the other videos, and then the aphorisms, the way that the ray power, purpose of this ray can be perceived or explained through these aphorisms of the other 6 rays. And then it kind of does go into a little bit more before going into the 5th, because again, it's introducing this subset, the 4th ray being the midpoint between the first 3 again, and then the last 3. So it's also the middle way. All right, where are we? The Lord of the 4th ray has many names which warrant careful study and much. Time out. The camera stopped recording. This is the second time it did that. I don't know why the computer keeps freezing, but I'm going to jump right back in, and I'm going to try to just power through this. All right, bear with me. Thank you for watching. I'll start over with this paragraph here. The Lord of the 4th ray has many names which warrant careful study and much consideration. In less than 100 years, this Lord of harmonizing power will have more influence and will offset some of the Saturn disruption of the first decanate of Aquarius. The first decanate or decan is in astrology every piece of the pie of the 12 zodiacs broken into each of the signs takes up 30 degrees, each sign 30 degrees or 30 days of the wheel, the zodiac wheel, and each of those 30 degrees is broken down 10, 20, 30, the first, second, and third decan, and those are ruled by certain planets. And the first decan of Aquarius is ruled by, as they all are, their main planetary ruler. So Aquarius is ruled by Saturn/Uranus, I think the old way. And so this is saying that the influence of this fourth ray will offset, and it's a harmonizing ray. It harmonizes, brings together like that 3 and the 2 and the 1. It harmonizes that energy, and it will offset some of the Saturn disruption of the first decan of Aquarius. So Saturn is also like the father figure, the enforcer, the one that restricts and takes away. And Aquarius energy, also being ruled by Uranus, is kind of rebellious and disruptive. So at the same time, while the age of Aquarius is supposed to be known to harmonize because Aquarius is the water bearer, it brings forth, and it's a humanitarian, and it's this age of moving forth into more wisdom and unity, there is some Saturn, and there's some kind of disruption. And also from what we're experiencing right now is like the patriarchy, kind of that energy, and blending and bringing in this feminine energy. So the harmonizing energy of the fourth ray will offset some of the Saturn disruption of the first decanate of Aquarius. In the meantime, a study of his names will produce a simplification of his efforts and build up a body of constructive thought which will facilitate his work when he is again active manifestation. He is always, however, more or less in power where the human family is concerned, for there is a numerical alliance between the fourth ray, the fourth creative hierarchy, or the human monads, and the fourth kingdom in nature. We are the fourth kingdom in nature. You have the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, the animal kingdom, and then the human kingdom. So these are the names that this ray type goes by. The perceiver on the way. You're supposed to kind of study these and think about them in order to kind of get an understanding more about the purpose of this ray type, or the energy that people who are born and are more inclined on this ray type exude. So again, this is the perceiver on the way, the link between the 3 and the 3. Again, like you think about the chakras, there's 7 chakras. You have the 3 higher, and then you have the 3 lower, and then you have the heart is the middle. So the heart, these don't correspond specifically to the chakras, but in that same way, the heart is the center, and it's the link between the 3 and the 3, because our 3 lower chakras anchor us to our physical body, our physical reality. You have the root chakra, which is about security and safety and all of those things, feeling like that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what you need in that basic primal nature. The second chakra being the sacral chakra, and that's your creativity and your expression and the physical, the sexual energy, and how you're able to create physical things in this realm. Third chakra being the solar plexus, and that's our confidence, our energetic signature of how we exude or display our energy in this physical reality. So that's the 3 bottom. Then you have the heart, the gate of the heart center, which when you activate and align that and pass through that, it's like a barrier in the same way. And when you open that up, then you get the higher expressions, the higher 3 chakras, which are your throat, how we speak, what we speak into existence, what we manifest through our higher awareness when we understand that our words are powerful and magnetic, and we don't speak in terms of harm or doing anything egregious, because we have that higher awareness. When you awaken and align this chakra, then you have the ajna, the third eye chakra, and then your crown chakra, the link between the 3 and the 3. I hope it's still recording. I'm going to keep going. The divine intermediary, same idea, the hand of God, the hidden one, the seed that is the flower, kind of the one being the same as the other. The flower is the seed is the flower. The mountain whereon form dies, the light within the light, the corrector of the form, the one who marks the parting of the way, the master, the dweller in the holy place, the lower than the 3, the highest of the 4, specifically referring to the rays, the 7 rays, and the trumpet of the Lord. The aphorisms connected with this 4th ray are not easy of comprehension. They require an exercise of the intuition and are conveyed by 6 short and excessively brief commands uttered, curiously enough, late in the creative period and at the time when the 4th creative hierarchy came into incarnation. Here are the 6 aphorisms. 1. I'm going to read through them and then I'll do a quick comment because it does tell us not to kind of jump to conclusions. So you should study these. I studied them, or read this, studied again, and each time I kind of do get a little bit more of a personal understanding, but I think that, or understanding, and I think that more study will also garner more. So I'd also like to hear any of your thoughts as you study these. But keeping it through the lens of the 4th ray being the harmonizing ray of beauty, art, and also they refer to it as harmony through conflict. First aphorism, speak low the word, speak low. Quality, again, so this is the ways that the other 6 rays or the 6 brothers could describe the energy of this ray. And then it also exudes its own quality, but this is how the qualities they attribute. I'm not sure if it's in order, but the qualities those other rays would attribute to this one. Speak low the word, speak low. Quality, the power to penetrate the depths of matter. 2. Champion desire, give what is needed to the seeker. Quality, the dual aspects of desire. 3. Lower the thread, unfold the way, link man with God, arise. Quality, power to reveal the path. 4. All flowers are thine. Settle the roots in mud, the flowers in the sun. Prove mud and sun and roots and flowers are one. Quality, the power to express divinity. Growth. 5. Roll and return and roll again. Cycle around the circle of the heavens. Prove all is one. Quality, the harmony of the spheres. 6. Color the sound, sound forth the color, produce the notes, and see them pass into the shades, which in their turn produce the sounds. Thus, all are seen as one. Quality, the synthesis of true beauty. I'm going to check this. All right, part 3. Right when I went to check on it, it died again. So I'm going to go old school and read this just in case it's not happy with me switching between the screens. We're going to finish this section off right now, just reading from the book. We're on page 72, continuing on right after the 6 aphorisms. This instruction on the rays is of deeper significance than can as yet be comprehended. Careful systematic study and the sane refraining from the forming of rapid deductions will be the wisest way in which to approach its consideration. It is not possible for me to deal with the definite human psychological applications at this early stage. I am occupied with stating a general outline, with the impartation of ideas, with the grounding of a few basic concepts in the consciousness of the reader, and with an attempt to clothe this most abstruse and difficult subject in such a form that some new rhythm of thought may be set in motion, and some new realizations may be grasped and held. These concern at present a prototypal cosmic process, and will lead eventually to an understanding of the part an individual may play in a stupendous cosmic whole. We begin with the universal and end with the particular, which is ever the truly occult method. However, all that I am positing about a ray life may be equally well posited about a human life, but it should be borne in mind that the pure ray type does not as yet exist, for there is not to be found that perfect form, mechanism, or expression of the ray quality, nor that absolutely purified appearance in the human family. Except in such rare cases as the Buddha or Christ, and in another field of expression, an Alexander or Julius Caesar. Leonardo da Vinci was an analogous expression. The rays concern energy and consciousness and determine expression, but where the matter utilized and the vehicle informed is as yet imperfectly evolved, there is then limitation and the tuning out automatically of much of the energy. So this is talking again about how basically there's no one that's purely, or at the time of this writing, there was no one that was purely one specific ray type. They talk about first ray being the ray of the destroyer, and how if any human being was purely first ray, about that energy of destroying, we would be in bad shape, because that energy is very powerful, and it's very, it can be very destructive. In the same way with the second ray type, which is the Jesus ray, the ray of the cosmic ray, the planetary logos. The biggest, most divine expression is that love ray. No one's pure love, but is saying that there have been those who exuded that under rare cases, and that what we've seen is that when we're the vehicles, the appearance of that's trying to tune and be a tuning fork to express these divine attributes. When we're imperfectly evolved, there's limitation, and we tune out. Instead of tuning in to our divinity, we tune out and express what's on MTV. Just kidding. I like, I'm just going to keep going. All right. The effect of ray force working through imperfect forms. We are imperfect forms in terms of this divine expression. Overall, again, we are the expression of that. The seed is the flower, so we are perfect, but we're also imperfect, but mostly perfect. Just got to figure out how to be you, and not a version or a copy or an imitation or a counterfeit of somebody else. This study is helping us to become more of ourselves, our divine selves. The effect of ray force working through imperfect forms must be distorted and curtailed and misapplied. Let me illustrate. I have said that first ray energy works out as the destruction of forms. It must be remembered that a pure destroyer is utterly unknown, and mercifully for the race this is so, as we were just saying. It is a beneficent condition that as yet a first ray ego is so handicapped and limited by the form nature and the quality of that form nature that it is unable to make adequate or intelligent use of its destructive force. So it hasn't quite tapped into it. If there is a pure first ray, or if any of us are pure rays, we have to first tap into, balance ourselves in order to tap into that expression of the lower and the higher attributes aligned, working in harmony. The spirit and matter both working together to express. First-ray personalities are oft destructive, as you well know, but the energy generated is insufficient to work much harm. Again, pure love is incapable of expression today, its flow being impeded by the form nature. A consideration of these two cases will help the reader to appreciate this situation. But the time is near at hand wherein there will be a fuller expression of ray purpose, type, or quality, and therefore a truer appearance. We are the appearance of the harmony, of the blending of spirit and matter. And we are moving towards a truer appearance, the incarnation of truer expressions of divinity through man. Believe it or not, this is owing to the important appearance or manifestation of certain great lives who will embody the energy of rays 2, 3, 5, and 7. They will thus constitute focal points for the inflow of these 4 types of divine energy, and this will produce a tremendous stimulation of their corresponding and responding units of life. So when those great lives incarnate and express that divine nature, they will also have corresponding and responding units of life, and each person is another unit of life. So it's like an activation, like that 100 monkey experiment. We had a few monkeys learning to crack coconuts and drink out of it, or do whatever habit or behavior they were doing on one isolated island. And then once a certain number of them happened to do it on that island, they reached a critical mass where that consciousness spread. And monkeys that were completely in a different place were able to pick up on that wave. The collective unconscious was able to psychically understand and intuit that next stage of development, that understanding, right? Like when humanity and the caveman figured out how to light fire, eventually others were taught that. But the monkey phenomenon, it's more of a psychic thing. It wasn't expressed one-to-one. It eventually sparked others. So in that same way, there will be responding units of life who resonate with those pure ray types. These four beings, who will appear as human beings in the field of the modern world, may be looked for before the end of this century, and their united effort will inaugurate definitely the new age and usher in the period which will go down in history as the time of glory for the fifth root race. Each of these four masters, for that they will be, is also subjectively the focal point for a triple inflow of energy from the center of the body of God, which is symbolically spoken of as the heart of the sun. For each ray is in its turn a triple manifesting entity, as is the solar deity himself. Love will be their outstanding characteristic, and through that attractive magnetic force, the new forms will come into being which will permit a pure rare... Let me read that again because this is exciting stuff. This is the positive stuff. Love will be their outstanding characteristic, and through that attractive magnetic force, the new forms will come into being, which will permit of pure ray types, and thus of more truly expressive appearances. People who are not afraid to be themselves, and themselves being their actual birth chart, divine nature, realized and actualized to then be higher than their birth chart, whatever their full truest expression is, based on all the things, your personality, your psychology, your all your stuff. A great deal of the destructive energy extant in the world today is due to the presence on the astral plane of a first-ray disciple of the planetary logos. And this is where it gets interesting. The planetary logos is, again, there's a hierarchy, a higher realm of basically there's human people, human beings, the human kingdom working out these same things, figuring out who we are and expressing ourselves. The planetary logos is also doing the same thing in its regard, but they have more power. So I think there was another part in here which said like the hierarchy, and where our highest stage of evolution is their first stage of evolution. So on their different sphere of what they're learning and growing in, according to Alice Bailey and these texts and the ancient teachings, there is one disciple. So if I was a disciple learning this now, there's a planetary disciple. So planet, think of Mars, Saturn, Uranus, all the planets as beings, as entities. So their work, there's a planetary logos, or the energy of that planet is to be in the astral plane as a destroyer. I could think of that as like Mars energy or Pluto. Pluto is that Saturnian energy that destroys things. It could also be Uranus, but it's like they're channeling their power into the astral plane to cause destruction. And when we are in our emotions, we pick up on the astral energy. Just like when we are on this earth breathing this air, we are receiving the sparks of influence from the planets. As the planets shift, we have influence by them, just like we know that the seasons are changing as we move around the sun. The air is filled with energy, and we pick up on that energy and we're influenced by it, just like the moon cycles. It's another planet, and so when the moon is full, there's certain people who are impacted. Women get their menstrual cycle. It usually coincides with that because we are influenced by these energies. And it says that a planetary logos has its work on the astral plane as a first ray disciple. His work is to clear the way for the manifestation of these four major disciples. So before, and that first ray is hard to understand. Remember, we went in depth about it. It's destructive, but for the purpose of a divine purpose. It's going to clear the way of all of this confusion and all of these things that we're experiencing, probably like you would see the real world, all the chaos. This, wrapping this up is where it gets a little bit hard to, let's put on our discerning hats and our open minds, yet our discerning minds, and see how we feel about this last part. His work, it is to clear the way for the manifestation of these other four major disciples. who are primarily builders. He's a destroyer, the four are builders. They will enter on their work when the task of the wreckers of form have been accomplished. I should like to here give a suggestion, for it is necessary that some of the methods of the hierarchy should begin to be understood. The work of what in the West is called the Christ principle is to build the forms for the expression of quality in life. That is the characteristic work of the second aspect of divinity. The work of the Antichrist is to destroy forms, and this is essentially the work of the first expression of divinity. So this is very specific. So it's saying in terms of literal words, if you were to think about the opposite. So you have the work of the Christ is a builder, second ray. The work of the Antichrist, the opposite energy, would be a destroyer. The opposite of a builder is a destroyer. So it's saying in terms of that specific definition in terms, the Antichrist is not what we express it as or see it as in pop culture, what we're seeing on, the Grammys, with people dancing in cages and wearing devil costumes, and all the celebrities doing this and sticking their tongues out and mimicking a satanic energy. That's not what we're talking about. The Antichrist is the opposite of Christ's energy. Christ's energy builds. Antichrist energy destroys for a divine purpose. God allows earthquakes and floods, but that's really touching, and it's very hard to chew and swallow, go through all this information. I know that there's been a really devastating earthquake recently too, as well. But it's almost like this is a culmination to get our energy, our attention, that we are not protecting this earth, we're not protecting each other, we're not living as we should be. And so these works of the planetary logos, whose work it is to wreck what we've built, if it's a destructive nature that we are living as human beings, that we can't connect and we can't survive and thrive together, as above, so below, is what these teachings teach us. So surely our environment would also be destructive and reflecting that energy as well. Until these four, the builders, the next phase is to have it rebuilt. And continuing on with that information about the Christ principle versus the Antichrist. The work of the destroyer is not the work of black magic. And when ignorant humanity regards Antichrist as working on the black side, their error is great. His work is as beneficent as that of the building aspect, and it is but man's hatred of the death of forms which makes him regard the work of the destroyer as black. Like I was just saying, how would you have to cognize and understand how a divine energy would allow an earthquake that's destructive and over 40,000 people pass on? You would think that that's evil, right? You would think that that's dark, but it's really deeper than that. There's something that's happening cosmically in the great unfolding of everything. According to this text, that's not black magic or black art or black work. That's something entirely different. But the divine destroyer's work is as beneficent as that of the building aspect. It is but our hatred of death of forms, the death of people, which makes us regard the work of the destroyer as black, as being against the divine will, and as subversive of the divine program. The work of the representatives of that mysterious power which we call cosmic evil, and their responding representatives, is indeed worthy of the word black, but it is not applicable to the work of Antichrist. So again, it says that there are responding representatives, just as these four lives will incarnate and have units of life that respond to those energies of pure divine energy. There are representatives that respond to pure evil, non-divine, the opposite of divine energy. And you can see that every day. You look around, there's people that really resonate with harm and being cruel and being heartless and being spiteful and vengeful, all those things. There's people that resonate with that. So they are representatives. I signed up, I enroll, I want to represent this energy. They magnetize to that, and others magnetize to other things. It's a great sorting so that we can experience our evolution, our karma, our awakening, our rebirth. So it concludes, It might be added that the work of the black forces wells up from below. That energy comes from below, like in the Martin Kenney scheme of what it looks like of the cosmic egg. The realms below Earth would be, deeper depth, inner realms where beings are less evolved. They're with the spirits basically behind alcohol and things like that that kind of take you over. You have a spirit of tequila and you become angry. So that spirit, that energy, those are lower level forces that we invite in through our certain actions and activities. So the black energy comes from below, whilst the work of the destroyer is impelled from above, first ray energy. People who are create a power plant that leaks, seeps some kind of a toxin into the oil, into the ground, and then the divine destroys it. They do something to blow up that plant. Something just mysteriously, miraculously happens so that they can't produce anymore. It's destruction so that something can be built again through divinity. The divine destroys so that something else can be rebuilt. It is not that other energy. I hope I made that clear by now. Wrap this up. See, it's still recording. All right. The work of the black forces wells up from below, whilst the work of the destroyers is impelled from above. First ray. The symbols of these two ways are the sword and the cross. After these preliminary remarks, this is the end, which are intended to indicate the magnitude of the subject, we shall now proceed to an analysis of the three rays which still remain to be considered. And then it goes into the fifth ray, the divine, what am I talking about? The great invocation? There we go. What the heck? I'll read it for old time's sake. Thank you for watching. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ consciousness return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let the purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Have a great evening. I'll see you in the next one. Take good care.